Look, I am a opponent of having the 12 appropriations bills, having them come through committee, having the
Yeah.
committee debate these, right? Like that's the process. But now with, I think we're less than 30 days now for the next, cliff of interim funding running out. You also can't run, a large business like the American government. We're Fortune zero. You would be the largest company in the world, and having DoD not be able to make decisions from a long-term planning is a problem. We hear about these issues of ammunition problem, right? If we're helping the Ukrainians
Hmm.
and we're helping the Israelis, we got to make sure that we have enough, and we need to be having long-term plans in place to ensure that we don't have a munitions problem if this conflict increases, or in order to protect ourselves. So that's where I think we should go. But I keep saying this over and over, that the world is only getting more dangerous, and
Mm.
Hezbollah being in place and playing now is potentially going to make this more complicated. We need to be putting sanctions back on the Iranians, because the Iranians are obviously involved in some form or fashion here. And so these are the steps that we need to be taking in order to protect Americans, but also our allies. We can't do this by ourselves. And guess what? The rest of the world is watching. The Chinese government is trying to blame the current crisis in Israel on the United States, which is absolutely ridiculous. But having these dumb food fights in Washington that happen almost every 6 months is a waste of everybody's time.
Well, as you talk about the world being dangerous and potentially expanding, we are just getting some headlines out from Admiral John Kirby, who, of course, is a spokesman for the NSC, saying there is no sign of a new actor trying to widen the Israel conflict yet. And yet, when we think about where we began this conversation, Congressman, about the intelligence failures, how can we be so sure we wouldn't miss an escalation of some kind?
The head of the IRGC Quds Force was in the region months ago, meeting with all these actors that are involved now. The fact that you're seeing the same tactics, techniques, and procedures used by Hezbollah that Hamas did over on Saturday is an indication right there that there is a level of coordination. These two groups would not have done this level of activity without a tacit approval from their masters, which is ultimately Iran. And this is the problem that the Biden administration is playing, like this notion that they're trying to not make Iran out to be the bad guy. The Iranian government is not going to change its spots. They have been lying to and misleading the international community for over 30 years. They have been killing innocent people for over 30 years. They killed their own people that are protesting. And so this notion that hey, there's not a smoking gun, that the Iranians are behind it. The fact that you had the leader of, in essence, the combination of Iranian special forces and intelligence meeting with senior leaders of these groups that did this attack, we call that smoke.